Did you know that over 70% of people who buy a home theater speaker set end up swapping out at least one component within the first 2 years because they're not happy with the bass punch? I ran into that statistic while researching budget-friendly 2.1 systems, and it got me thinking about what actually matters when you're watching a movie or gaming with friends. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. I'll walk through why the Klipsch 2.1.2 Walnut System, with its RP-8060FA2 front speakers and RP-1600SW sub, might be the answer to those complaints. First off, the bigger horn design on the RP-8060FA2 isn't just for show. A larger horn means the mid-range frequencies get a cleaner path, so dialogue stays articulate even when the action is loud. I tried the system while streaming a dialogue-heavy drama, and the lines that normally get lost in the background stayed right there, crisp as if the actors were speaking directly into my ear. That clarity carries over to gaming too. When I'm in a fast-paced shooter, I can hear enemy footsteps without the explosions drowning everything out. The tweeter uses Klipsch's LTS titanium diaphragm, which is a fancy way of saying the highs are tight and distortion-free. I remember the first time I played a symphonic piece with a soaring violin solo. The strings sang without any metallic edge, and the piano's sparkle was unmistakable. If your playlist includes a lot of vocal music, that tweeter will keep the vocalist's breathiness natural rather than sounding harsh. Now, the subwoofer's all-new cerametallic woofers are what give the system that deep, controlled bass you usually only find in larger, more expensive setups. The material blends ceramic and metal, allowing the cone to move quickly while staying rigid. When I cranked up the bass on a modern pop track, the thump hit the floor but didn't rattle the picture frame. It's the kind of low end that adds weight to explosions in movies, yet stays tight enough that you can still discern the rhythm in a bass-driven funk track. One feature that's easy to overlook is the dual input terminals for bi-wiring or bi-amping. If you ever decide to upgrade your amplifier or want to separate the low and high frequencies for even cleaner sound, those terminals make it painless. I set up a small desktop amp for the tweeters and a separate receiver for the woofers, and the separation was audible, especially on test tones where the mids and highs stayed clear while the bass stayed powerful. It also future-proofs the system if you ever want to experiment with higher-end components. Beyond the sound, the walnut finish is a practical design win. Many speaker rigs look like they belong in a tech store, but the Klipsch's rich wood grain blends seamlessly with a living room decor that leans more toward a cozy cabin vibe. I placed the speakers on either side of my TV, and they became part of the room's aesthetic instead of an eyesore. That's a win for anyone who cares about both performance and style. Flexibility in connectivity is another practical benefit. The front speakers accept both Bluetooth and optical inputs, so you can stream directly from a phone, tablet, or TV without needing an extra receiver. I used the Bluetooth mode to fire up a karaoke app, and the system handled the vocal track and backing music without latency, making family sing-along sessions painless. The sub also has a dedicated line-level input, so you can hook it up to a vintage receiver if that's your setup of choice. When it comes to placement, the system is surprisingly forgiving. Because the horn design spreads sound more evenly, you don't need to sit dead center for the sweet spot. I moved the couch a few feet off axis during a movie night, and the front speakers still filled the room with balanced audio. That alleviates the usual headache of just sit here or you'll miss half the action that many 2.1. For most buyers, the real question is not whether Klipsch 2.1.2 Walnut System model RP-8060FA2, RP-1600SW sounds impressive on paper, but whether strengths like system includes and bigger horn, better sound actually make daily use feel easier, more dependable, and more worthwhile after the first few days of excitement were off. It is also smart to think about long-term satisfaction. A product like Klipsch 2.1.2 Walnut System model RP-8060FA2, RP-1600SW usually feels like the better buy when it stays convenient, comfortable, and reliable in normal everyday use instead of only looking good in the listing.